It's early 1975. David Gilmour is standing in a dimly lit studio staring at a set of high-watt amplifiers. Pink Floyd is currently attempting to record Shine On You Crazy Diamond, but something is wrong. The track feels flat. It lacks that elusive, shimmering quality, that sense of movement that Gilmour can hear in his head, but can't seem to translate to tape. You've just got the man in his box trying to create distortion, which gives an impression of real loudness. It's very hard to do, and it never sounds quite right doing this pathetic little distortion in a little room. He has every pedal imaginable at his feet: the fuzz phase, the Binson Echo Rack, the Univibe, but none of them are providing the secret sauce.
It's funny because it looks so primitive, doesn't the whole thing? You've just got a man in his box.
Trying to create distortion.
In a moment of sheer experimentation, Gilmour reaches for a device that wasn't even designed for guitarists. He makes a connection that on paper shouldn't work. He engages a specific phase shifting sequence that creates a sound so liquid, so thick, that it would define his signature tone for the next 50 years. This wasn't just a gear choice, it was a 1975 secret that transformed a standard guitar signal into a living, breathing landscape of sound. And if you ever wondered why David Gilmour's tone feels like it's surrounding you rather than just playing at you, the answer lies in a single, misunderstood circuit. This is the story of the phase shift secret that defined the sound of a god. To understand the secret, we have to understand the environment. 1975 was a year of immense pressure for Pink Floyd. They were coming off the astronomical success of The Dark Side of the Moon. The expectation was crushing. Roger Waters was becoming increasingly cynical about the music industry, and the band was struggling to find their creative footing. During the Wish You Were Here sessions at Abbey Road, the atmosphere was sterile. I was trying to get a big but clean sound like it's in a huge room. We recorded that for the record in number 1 at Abbey Road on a day when there was no one in there. Gilmour was looking for a way to break through the tension.
Everything fits
Right.
over all the chords.
Yeah.
He wanted a sound that felt absent, a tone that mirrored the theme of the album. When we did Wish You Were Here, we were in number 3 at Abbey Road. They had a whole new desk, a whole new setup, and a whole new engineer, Brian Humphries. There were all sorts of teething problems with the studio. He didn't just want a good guitar sound, he wanted a sound that felt like a ghost in the room.
Took part in was sessions, I must have been in January 68, and that was at Abbey Road. It was all Abbey Road. We had arguments with the people at Abbey Road about moving forward, progressing, and there were 8-track machines.
In his quest for this spectral tone, Gilmour began looking beyond the standard pedalboard. He became obsessed with the concept of phase shifting. But he wasn't satisfied with the simple, thin swoosh of the early phasers on the market. He needed something deeper, something that could swirl the frequencies without losing the core weight of his Stratocaster. This led him to a piece of equipment that most rock stars ignore, a device originally intended for keyboards and studio album racks. It was the MXR Phase 90, specifically the script logo version. But it wasn't just that he used it, it was how he integrated it into this specific 1975 signal chain that changed everything. Most people think a phaser is just a phaser, but in 1975 the technology was in its infancy. Most phasers were two-stage circuits. They were subtle. They sounded like a slight breeze. Gilmour, however, stumbled upon the four-stage circuit of the MXR. The secret was in the way the four-stage circuit creates two distinct notches in the frequency spectrum. By placing this after his big muff distortion but before his delays, Gilmour created a comb filtering effect that didn't just sweep the sound, it carved it.
you know, sitting in a control room with these great big speakers, and he's just, and it's going,
Here's where the true seat applies. Gilmour realized that if he ran the Phase 90 into a rotating speaker, a Leslie or Yamaha RA200, the phase shifting would interact with the physical movement of the speaker. This created a double modulation that should have been a muddy mess. Instead, it created the signature sound. When you listen to the opening of Shine On, that 4-note theme isn't just a guitar. It's a complex interaction of a phase-shifted signal being physically thrown around the room by rotating horns. The phase shift was the anchor. It kept the tone consistent while the speakers provided the air. This was the moment Gilmour stopped being a guitar player and became a sound architect. Why does this specific space shift secret resonate so deeply with us? As listeners, our brains are hardwired to notice movement. A static guitar tone can be beautiful, but the moving tone feels alive. Gilmour's use of the 1975 phase shift secret was a psychological masterstroke. It created a sense of three-dimensional space. Because the phaser was shifting the timing of the frequencies, your ears couldn't quite pin down exactly where the sound was coming from. It felt like it was shifting behind you, then above you. This was exactly what the Wish You Were Here album needed. It was an album about disappearance, about Syd Barrett, about the hollow feeling of fame. The phase-shifted tone was literally disappearing and reappearing within the mix. It gave the guitar a vocal quality. It didn't just play notes, it sighed, it breathed. Gilmour would later explain that he was always looking for sounds that felt human. Something magic comes out of bending little bits of wire. You do it absolutely all the time, a little bit, so that every note has the tiniest little things. That's what makes the guitar so personal. The phase shift secret was his way of mimicking the subtle fluctuations of a human voice.
different tiny inflections to what you're doing all the time. And that, I guess, is what gives people their individual tone sound.
By setting the rate of the phaser to a slow, pulsing speed, almost like a resting heartbeat, he synced the music to the biology of the listener. You didn't just hear the solo, you felt its pulse. After 1975, the phase shift secret became the cornerstone of every Gilmour era to follow. You can hear it on Animals, where the phaser became more aggressive, almost biting. You can hear it on The Wall, where it provided the liquid foundation for Comfortably Numb.
I do hold the pick in a sort of clumsy. I see people playing with a pick properly like that, but I'm sort of mine's almost as much finger and thumb.
Yeah.
So I don't even notice when I do it some of the time.
But it all traces back to those sessions in 1975. It traces back to a man willing to wire things wrong to get the right feeling. Modern guitarists spend thousands of dollars trying to replicate this exact 1975 sweep. They buy vintage spec clones and digital modelers, searching for that specific 4-stage notch. But what they often miss is the Gilmour philosophy. The secret wasn't just the MXR pedal, it was the understanding that technology should serve the emotion. I don't know how that happens. That's not anything deliberate or worked on. It's just my taste as to how you want it to sound, how you want to bend things. Gilmour used the phase shift to hide the harshness of the electronics and reveal the soul of the melody.
It's just my taste as to how you want it to sound, how you want to bend things.
When he stepped onto the stage for the Pulse tour decades later, he was still using these principles. The gear had changed, but the secret remained the same. Use modulation to create a world that a listener can get lost in.
I've had it for over 30 years. I tell you what, I used it on at least part of Coming Back to Life in 1994. Wow. So I've had it for 30 years.
30 years,
that
yeah.
same unit. I mean, I've got 2 or 3 of them because I keep thinking one's going to break, and you can download all your settings off them.
There is one final part of the secret that few people talk about. In 1975, Gilmour wasn't just using one phaser. He was often stacking the phase shift with the natural phase cancellation of the studio's microphone placement. By placing microphones at different distances from his amplifiers, he was creating acoustic phase shifting. When combined with the electronic phase shifting of his pedals, the result was a sound that was impossible to replicate in a live setting, at least until technology caught up. This is why those 1975 studio recordings sound so much thicker than anything else from that period. It was a layer of time approach tone. It was a secret hidden in plain sight, buried under the layers of Abbey Road's consoles. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all the best. If you have a great idea for a new video, please drop it in the comments. Thank you.